But look, let's go ahead and keep this thing moving because we did mention about next year, which obviously a number of teams are moving. USC and UCLA are going to the Big Ten, like you mentioned.
Oregon and Washington as well.
Exactly. And then you got teams going to what? The Big 12, the SEC.
Big
like
12, Utah, ASU, Arizona, and Colorado all go into the Big 12.
Yeah. So leaves you with 4 teams right now in the Pac. What was the Pac-12, now the Pac-4. You have Washington State, Oregon State, Cal, and Stanford. Yeah. Now, there have been talks about maybe they were going to try to hold strong, but like my guy Alex alluded to a week ago, Saturday, the writing's on the wall. It's basically going to be imploded, and it's terrible. Word on the street now, and one of the things you mentioned was that Stanford and ACC potentially could be going, or Stanford and Cal potentially could be going to the ACC.
Yeah. Word
came out. Anthony Handy, he sent us that little article. Apparently, Stanford made a little plea to the ACC. Hey, can we're trying to go. We're trying to get in here now. But it's a little different. They're potentially going to do it without any of the media rights or the financial backing of all that stuff from the ACC. What does this mean for them? Is this smart? Like, what's?
Yes, it is smart because, and I mean, they can essentially push that money that they would get from the Pac-12, and just be like, here, you guys take it, because a lot of the other teams are doing that. They get a chunk from Oregon State, Washington State, and Cal. Now are all going to get chunks from every other team that's leaving, as kind of like a damages and all that. So they're going to lose some of that Pac-12 money, Pac-4 money at this point, and they're not necessarily taking the ACC money right off the bat. What happens, though, is every time a team comes in to a conference, that TV deal gets renegotiated because there's a different number of teams, different amount of money per team. So everything goes back to the drawing board. So what they're saying is, we won't take any money for joining you guys now, but joining them, you're going to get a bigger portion of money than you were in the Pac-12 or the Mountain West or the AAC that they were talking about as well. You're going to get more money going to the ACC than any of those other conferences. So they're banking on losing a bit of money short term for more financial gain long term.
Yeah. And it was said, I think Notre Dame was one of those that was really in on the proposal to bring them in to the ACC, them and Cal. And then, I know you had talked about SMU potentially bringing it in. That could then set up what you mentioned Saturday about having two, potentially 18 teams, because that would add 3 teams in there. You have 2 potential 9-team conferences in there, or 9-team divisions. I mean, so this could be good if this does happen. How far is Cal from doing the same thing? How far away are they from coming to join the ACC?
I think it's how far is the ACC from allowing another team in. I think Cal will be ready to jump.
Okay.
You see the potential money that Stanford's going to get and kind of look at it from that perspective. And I think Cal would be willing to jump. I think they'd be a little more willing to jump cross-country knowing that Stanford would be in the conference too. So you'd have a team kind of closer to home, very close to home. And then with that money on top of it, I think it makes it a little more appealing. But like we said before, now that Stanford's essentially in the ACC, you needed 12 of the 15 votes before. You're probably needing 13 of the 16 votes now to get in. I'm guessing you probably wouldn't get that extra leeway of 12 for 16 now. I think it would be 13 to 16. And I mean, we know that Florida State isn't exactly wanting to kind of do the ACC any favors here. And there were 2 other teams that said no to Stanford, Cal, and SMU right off the bat. NC State, yeah. So, I mean, there's a few of these teams that aren't really doing the conference any favors. So how willing are they to add another team? Because while it might add more money to the conference as a whole, it might lessen that per team share. And some of these other teams might not necessarily want that. So I think it would be more, I think Cal would jump in a heartbeat. I think it's more how willing is the ACC to take on Cal. Because Stanford, they've had sports programs that have been competitive over the last few years. Their men's basketball team a couple years ago, their women's basketball team has been a powerhouse as of late. Football, obviously not so much. But Cal pretty much across the board has been bad for a few years now. Cal's men's basketball team used to be a powerhouse dynastic program, and now it's in the dumps. Yeah. So I think last 2021 season, they won like 3 games. Right. So it's really bad. Cal sports are essentially at an all-time low. The only reason you would really look to bring Cal in right now is it raises your academic prestige.
Well, exactly. And see, from that perspective, Stanford and Cal are top tier at that. But like you said about Cal, it has not looked good, and that wouldn't look good on a conference that already some people outside of the conference question how strong it really is, And then when you go to Stanford and look at them, I mean, at the end of the day, this I think will be better for them. You get the ACC fans, where we saw what Eric was saying, that Stanford doesn't really, they don't do fans really well. They don't travel really well. But this, I think they're so quick to do this because this really is not going to affect them monetarily. Like you said, the rest of Stanford's, sports and academia is subpar. I mean, above, way above. And, they got an endowment for like 36 bills. Stanford is a well-known university, not just in the States, but all over the world. So the money wouldn't be the issue for them. But this, I mean, they see the writing on the wall, you know what I mean? And they're ready to jump ship. And we'll see. You talked about it. You brought it up. And I didn't even think it was a possibility. But here we are, Yeah. And as what Johnny was saying, Cal is chomping at the bit to jump over. Yeah.
I think 3 of the schools that are left, I think they all just want some kind of security of knowing what's coming next year. Yeah. So I think any conference really that's gonna offer them and throw them some cash, they might jump at.
Yeah. Because right now, if this happens, Stanford and Cal go into the ACC, then you look at Oregon State and you look at Washington State and you say, well, what happens to them? You talk Mountain West, Big Ten is not too far. Like, realistically, where are they going to go?
I'm still leaning Mountain West for those 2 teams. I think they don't want to do the cross-country trip week in and week out. I think it geographically made sense. I don't think the money is that big of a factor to them. And I don't think the few $1 million a year is that big of a difference. I think they'll take the 7 or the 17 to 20 mil a year that these other conferences get. Yeah. Now it's a big jump if you can get into the Big Ten. I don't know how willing they are to take on a couple more teams. Although if you're looking at the football aspect of it, Oregon State fits perfectly right now.
Right.
They play Big Ten style football right now.
Absolutely.
And Uiagalelei, I think, is a Big Ten style quarterback. I think he fits those run heavy schemes. If he was going to stay another year, I'd say, bring him right in. But obviously he's probably gone after this year. Mm-hmm. But I mean, Oregon State for a few years has played Smash Mouth football. So I think they would fit. It's just a matter of if they would bring both teams in, because you'd probably want to keep that even number of teams.
Yeah. And look, ladies and gentlemen, this is becoming the new NCAA. This is what it is. A lot of us, we don't want it necessarily, but this is where we're at. You know what I mean? Especially ahead of the 12-team tournament that's coming out next year. So, hey, just buckle up, get used to it.
Yeah.
Teams are going to be playing teams you didn't expect.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's a ride. It's a bumpy ride.
Yeah.
So strap up. Let's get ready to go. But yeah, it's it's a crazy world the college football landscape is in right now.
Oh man, but it is back.
Thanks for watching. If you like that clip, be sure to check out the other great content from the Let's Talk Football community. And as always, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when more great content like this becomes available.